I'm so proud of the decisions that I make. I'm also really proud that that's not the norm in my business, because I don't think that I would be able to keep that pace. I'm talking about mornings, 4:30 in the morning, and then closing my computer at 5:30 or 6 at night. I say that because I believe that there are times in our careers where we have to run extraordinarily hard to set up systems that then allow us to pull back. I want my business to serve my life. I don't want my life to serve my business. And so if I put on the mindset of I'm hauling in quarter 2, that way I can look at quarter 3 and quarter 4 and say, great, now we scale. Have you ever looked at an entrepreneur and wondered how they're building it? Does it ever look so flawless on the outside that you can't help but like stand back and you're like, what in the world are they doing? Are they that different? Are they so special? How do they make it look so easy when you know behind the scenes how hard it is? Welcome to the Jasmine Star Show, where I am dedicated to sharing everything I know and how I'm building in real time so that you can do it in half the time and get better the results. I bring in amazing guests to the show, but today I'm going to be focusing on a quarterly review. So I do these every single quarter. And I'm going to take a little side note. I've said this 1,000 times before. I'm only doing this based on the feedback that I get. If you appreciate hearing these quarterly reviews about the licks and the bricks, the licks I'm taking and the bricks I'm laying for my future foundation of the business that I am building, please let me know. I answer my own DMs on Instagram, as well as emails, as well as seeing YouTube comments. I just want to say thank you for that. But literally, I'm only making this show for other people. And so if these episodes aren't resonating, totally not offended. But if you want to hear them, the only way that I know that is if you give a little bit of a shout out to me, letting me know that you listened and that it was impactful. I'm creating this episode because I wish that the people who I looked up to were sharing the behind the scenes of what they were doing on a quarterly basis. And so I'm just putting out what I ultimately want to get from others. And if it's resonating with you, holler at your girl. This is why we do them. So building a business in public isn't easy. Building a business in public is not for the faint of heart. I sat on the couch right behind me with my husband a couple of days ago, and I had said, is this the thing I want to do? Do I want to continue creating content that's positioning my personal brand as a division of the business? Because it's hard and it feels very exposing and it feels very vulnerable. And to be able to go out and talk about the work that you're doing behind the scenes, more than half of it that probably won't work. It's not the easiest thing, and it's not for the faint of heart. And yet I'm continuously doing it until it doesn't serve me any longer. So I just kind of want to start there by saying a lot of the stuff that we're doing is with good intention and good hope, and nothing is a guarantee. As a business owner, the game that we play, the ways that we wake up in the morning, the late nights, the unexpected weekends, the things that you hope really go well and then end up going nowhere, and then finding the wherewithal to get up and do it again and again, it makes you on some days think, am I actually legitimately crazy that I would come back to do this thing? Am I volunteering to sign up for the madness that is building a business? And the answer is, if you got to this point in the episode, yes. Yes, it is. So welcome to my version of crazy. I was talking to JD last night, and we were driving through Los Angeles, and we went back through a neighborhood that I had done a big photo shoot in. We were in Venice, California, and he had looked around and he said, "You're crazy." And I was like, "I'm sorry, what?" We had just finished dinner. I'm putting on my safety belt. We're driving down. He's like, "You're crazy." I said, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "The fact that 15 years ago, you were shooting in these streets on those photo shoots." He's like, "You had just hustled your way to get there and do those types of gigs." And I just kind of sat with it. And then later on, I had sent him a text message when we had gone our separate ways. And I said, "I am crazy and I am a hustler, but you're crazier for marrying the crazy girl." Facts. So welcome to the show. If you are enjoying this version of crazy, who's crazier? The person who's talking or the person who's watching the person talking about the crazy ideas? Welcome. I'm so happy you're here. We're going to be focusing on Q2 of 2025. So this is April, May, and June. I'll start off at the beginning of the month of April. That was my birthday. I have a twin sister. Her name is Bianca Flower. My name is Jasmine Star. We celebrate our birthdays together. And I just wanted to highlight this one tiny little thing about maybe giving insight into my business. So my dad, out of the blue, we usually do very simple birthday dinners in my family. It's my dad will cook for us. We eat at my parents' house. But this year he wanted to do something different. He wanted to create this grand gesture. So he tells the family, "We're going out to Newport Beach. I'm going to take you out to wherever." But he had an idea. He wanted to go to this place called Javier's in Newport Beach. Now, let me just set the scene for Javier's. It is not your average Mexican restaurant. I am pretty sure my dad heard that Javier's is the Mexican restaurant in Newport. And in his mind, he's thinking about like the streets in Boyle Heights where we all grew up and was like, I'm going to take them out to Mexican. What he doesn't know is that Javier's on a Sunday is basically like the out and about, be seen, pull your Ferrari up to the front. And the women for Sunday brunch are dressed in like club attire. Speaking of clubbing, the music in the restaurant is so loud. They have a hard time hearing the conversations that are happening across from you, but you absolutely endure this spectacle because there are these gorgeous views of the ocean right across the street, and everything is better with chips and guacamole. So we say, okay, Dad, we're gonna go to Javier's, and he has no idea what we're pulling into. And so when we pull up and there's a line that's wrapping around the restaurant, and then the valet is filled with every designer car, and the guys, let's not forget the guys in their like, dare I say, bedazzled jeans and like the low cut shirts, and like they're wearing glasses indoors, like sunglasses indoors. Okay, now that you have a scene set, they set us at our table, and within a few minutes, my dad's like, I now get it. And I said, what do you get, Dad? He's like, I called the restaurant to see if I could bring in mariachis, and they said no. And I said, why? Why can't we bring in mariachis? And I was like, yeah, Dad, this is basically a club. No mariachis allowed. I share that story because that is who I am. That is the family from which I come. And I think that having this juxtaposition between the culture of who I am and the culture of what I love, and then stepping into the next version of myself, to be able to sit at that restaurant with my family at that time was a convergence of two worlds. And all of it was so, so, so beautiful and so special, but very true to our family. After dinner, they wanted to do a birthday cake at the restaurant. My dad's like, can we go to your house for cake? And I was like, absolutely, let's just roll and do how it is that we do. Shortly thereafter, April 9th to the 11th, I hosted a mastermind event here in Newport Beach. Now, I want to go over a few of the key topics around what we covered because I want to bring you into the journey of what that is. We talked about preparing how to sell your business, how we're leveraging AI in your business, using your intuition to grow strategically, and how to scale leadership. Because it was our last in-person event of the mastermind, I wanted to highlight a few key milestones for people in the group. In our 8 months together, there was a woman who sold her business, and that connection came on behalf of somebody in the mastermind. We had another woman who was buying a business, and she had never considered it before the mastermind. There was a woman who there at that live event decided to take on tech investors. We had a guest speaker by the name of Shay Bakani. She came in, and the woman was going to bootstrap the entire business, and she said, I am going to reach out to people who wanted to invest. And there on our 3-day event, she had already had 2 people give consideration for that investment. There was connections for consultants that people needed, recruiters that people needed, developers for platforms that people needed. I think that having a room where people are seen, felt, and heard, all 7-figure founders as they scale to 8, was so powerful. And I wanted to take a second to document that this is the room that I feel so proud to create and foster. And I believe that the mastermind is going to serve a bigger purpose for me in the future, even if right now I'm saying this is a phenomenal thing. I actually think it's going to be something far bigger and better in my future. That is a brick that I am laying in 2025 so that it expands to something even greater in 26 and 27 to 28. April 16th was a deep work day. I've talked about the deep work days on my podcast. I talk about how they've been so impactful. I started deep work days at the top of 2025 where I said once a month, no meetings, no tasks, no nothing. This is an opportunity for me to go deep on the business, to work on the business and not in the business, to cast a vision for the future. And on this particular day, I signed up for a CEO boot camp. I had never even heard of this thing. I saw it like on Twitter, and I joined it because they had promised of how to build people systems. And I was like, great. So I signed up for the day. I spent that day building out people systems. And what we wanted to do is to build systems while maintaining our standards. What are our standards? And then to step into being unapologetic. In fact, when I now talk to people about it, they're like, wow, I can't believe you could ask your team to do that. And I always respond now. We have a set of standards. Those standards might not be for everybody, but these are the standards of our team. And so if we want to scale our business in our own way, then we're going to ask people to set to those standards. And that's what systems do. And I felt like I just walked away from the CEO bootcamp with a lot more strength and fortitude around our systems. April 18th was a mental health day. So once a month, our team is given a day that we denote for mental health. You can do whatever the heck you want on that day. And so I feel really proud. Every time we go on a mental health day, I'm able to look across from JD and say, we're building the type of business that we would like to be a part of. And that felt really good. So what did I do on my mental health day? Well, I got my hair done. And then I went and had LASIK surgery. Y'all, April was a big month because your girl had vision. I can now see entirely differently. If anybody wants to know if it was worth it, I am like 12 out of 10, endorse it, 5 stars, would repeat. It was amazing. In fact, my twin sister is going to get LASIK and one of my friends is going to get LASIK. Basically, I'm a walking poster child for LASIK. April 23rd to the 26th, I was in Austin and Houston, Texas. So I was invited to be a mentor for the Small Business Challenge. It's hosted by Inc. Magazine and the UPS Store. They bring in 3 mentors where you come in and you work with a business owner, and over a period of time, you help get their business because they're gonna be pitching to people for the chance to win $35,000 for their business. I knew that I was going to take that as an opportunity, and my travel was included as part of being the mentor. So I was like, well, I want to double dip in behalf of my business. So while I was in Austin, I created a day to podcast. I invited local Austin entrepreneurs that I wanted to interview for a while. We podcasted there and I felt like it was really great. It was a very quick trip. Landed in Austin in the evening. We did some press. The next day I did the live event. Jade and I went to dinner. The next morning, very early in the morning, I did podcasting. Then we hit the ground to Houston, Texas, where I attended an event for Dr. Gabrielle Lyon. I was in Houston because I am at a place in my life where I'm essentially trying to live to 120 years old. I'm joking and I'm totally not joking. I am changing the way that I lift weights. I am changing the way that I eat. I am changing the way that I sleep. And I am learning so much from Dr. Gabrielle Lyon that I paid with my own money, did not get a homie hookup. She is my sweet friend and I freaking love her. But I'm also paying because I want to go to her event like a guest, and it was absolutely incredible. So for me, it was like the perfect dream day. I was able to serve other businesses as part of the challenge. I was able to serve my business and create content as part of the podcast. And then I was able to do like mind, body, health, all in alignment to expanding my business. That was in April. The brick I was laying for myself in the future was to be the type of grandma I know. My daughter's 5 and I'm talking about being a grandma. I want to be a healthy grandma. I want to be running businesses and I want to be there for my daughter. I want to be there for my grandchildren. And so these are the decisions that I'm making now. Okay, an important note that I would just want to take into consideration, all during Q2, so May, April, and June, I have been recording content for the Consistent 10K. We started building out the program Consistent 10K November, December of 2024. So we have been creating this and finally started getting to the opportunity where we were going to be recording. So while I'm not saying, oh, I only recorded during these days and this is the specific brick, I was saying all of this was going on behind the scenes. So in addition to serving as an advisor for companies, speaking, podcasting, creating content, we added on a whole new project. And that was, here again, it's something that you have to fit into a schedule. And so I will say that Q2 2025 was really, really exhausting. During also that time, we decided to invest in building out a sales team. So that added on more consulting time, more education time. And I look back at that and I think I'm so proud of the decisions that I make. I'm also really proud that that's not the norm in my business because I don't think that I would be able to keep that pace. I'm talking about mornings, 4:30 in the morning, and then closing my computer at 5:30 or 6 at night. I say that because I believe that there are times in our careers where we have to run extraordinarily hard to set up systems that then allow us to pull back. I want my business to serve my life. I don't want my life to serve my business. And so if I put on the mindset of I'm hauling in Q2, that way I can look at Q3 and Q4 and say, great, now we scale. So we were very, very focused on what are the results? What are the results that we want and need to define our level of success and our commitment to this? And so I believe that this program is going to change lives. I also believe that we are going to be putting out our best work. I also believe that this is an opportunity to flex a new muscle for a new program in a new way. And it makes me so excited. So that brings me to May. That was April. Now, I decided to build out a sales team from the ground up. You've heard me talk about this loosely on the podcast up until now, but here we are in May. We shifted gears. I created a podcast around why I decided to shift gears and hire a consultant and change the way that we were building out our team. That was a podcast that I recorded recently. I'll be sure to link it in the show notes. We can get more into that, but here is just high level. What are the things that you're doing? And so I wanted to create this team. I also was leveraging other resources and people around sales that I had built out with personal relationships. Blake Rocha had been on my podcast before, and he had a direct connection to Shelby Sapp. I will link both of their podcasts in this podcast so you can actually see the iterations. I interviewed Blake in early 2025. He became a partner with Shelby Sapp. I reached out to him personally and I said, listen, I know Shelby doesn't do a lot of press. I know she doesn't do a lot of podcasts. Can she come out here to my house for this podcast? And then before the podcast, can we meet for coffee so that we can strategize around a few other things? He said yes, yes, and yes. And so all of these things are tiny bricks. I record this podcast to itemize the brick that was Blake Rocha, the brick that was when Blake reached out to me for a connection to a consultant. I connected him that did very well for his business. I asked for a favor. He more than obliged. Myself, Blake, and Shelby met for coffee before the podcast to strategize other opportunities. I interviewed Shelby so that she can share her insights on sales, specifically sales for females. All of these bricks were laying into something much bigger in the future. Even if that future feels a little fuzzy, I know that I'm laying bricks towards a really strong foundation, even if it's just relationally. Okay, so I recorded 6 podcasts that day, then caught a red-eye flight to Nashville for a last-minute mastermind. That was that episode that I had just mentioned about talking about Shelby, talking about this mastermind, talking about Nashville. So it was a strategic one-day mastermind hosted by Amy Porterfield. Now, she was not the official host. We just all happened to be in Nashville. That's where she lives. And she's like, well, if everybody's gonna be in Nashville, everybody just come to my house and let's strategize. And so I left Friday. I arrived midnight Nashville. We masterminded on Saturday. I had a 1-hour meeting on Sunday and then got a flight home. That brings us to May 5th, and that starts the applications for my next mastermind. Now, I had created an episode talking about the strategy that we're using to fill our funnel for 7-figure entrepreneurs for specific offers. And here, I wanted to make sure that I denoted the brick that is this mastermind. We had ended the mastermind in April, and by May, we were bringing in a new cohort. Very excited. There was about a 43% renewal rate from the first mastermind, which was awesome and encouraging for us. But you know me, I'm like, well, how do I increase that? What do I need to do? I got into individual conversations with every person who decided to join the mastermind again, and I wanted to learn more, even more about them. There were 3 common traits around the people who decided to join us for cohort number 2. I looked back at what they did, the amount of work and the amount of results that they got in cohort number 1, and it was fascinating. They got big time ROI. They got big time changes. And I thought to myself, this is great. So if all of the women who decided to join for cohort number 2 had these outsized results, what were the 3 common traits between all of them? Because as I was interviewing for applications in cohort number 2, I want to say, I want more of these type of women. 3 most common traits of the people who got big results in 8 months and said like, heck yes to join cohort number 2, high competency. They were the best at what it is that they did. They know their stuff backwards and forwards. Number 2, high agency. These are the type of women who take an idea and they don't need to know the how. They just trust that they will find themselves and their team understanding how to create the how to create the how. So it was high competency, high agency, and high collaboration. These women were the most collaborative in the room. They're like, who can I introduce you to? Who can I ask for? They came in with very specific questions. And so if you are wanting to scale your 7-figure business to 8 and you're wondering why people are pacing at a different rate, high agency, high competency, and high collaboration. That brings us to the end of May, May 29th. I flew to San Francisco for a hosted lunch by John Levy. Now, if you notice right now, I couldn't get the words out. It's actually called an influencer lunch, but I really shy away from that type of verbiage. John has been doing these events for, I think, 15 years. So he was using the word influencer before it became like mainstream of what we consider to be an influencer. But at his lunch, he had something that was truly incredible. He had the head of innovation at Wells Fargo. He had the head of partnerships at Instagram. He had the person who created Amazon Prime and Amazon Kindle there at this event. I mean, he had Nobel laureates at this dinner. He had like directors and chairs at Berkeley and Stanford. It was such a wide range of people in the room. I interviewed John. I will link John's podcast in the show notes. The reason I am creating these episodes is I'm literally saying, like, the brick that I had laid with John in October of last year led to being at an event in May the following year. Prior to that, going to a dinner that he hosted in LA in September of last year. All of these things just keep on building upon each other. And these are long-term relationships that at the time, I didn't know what they would turn into. Little could I realize that less than a year later, I would be sitting in San Francisco with these gorgeous views of the entire Bay with people who are so fascinating, quite literally changing the world. And so we went around the table, we ran around the room. There was about 24 of us there, and they were talking about all of their fancy titles and their fancy companies. And then I stand up and I'm like, the temptation is to be like, womp, womp, womp. Like, no one's gonna wanna talk to me. And instead I chose a different story. And I said, my name is Jasmine Starr. I'm the founder of a holding company, and I empower entrepreneurs to scale from 7 to 8 figures. If you know a woman in your life who is very successful and wants to know how to scale, I am gonna be the person that you send her to. And then I sat down. I thought it was really great, and it made me really uncomfortable. But you wanna know what? I gotta keep on saying it until it vibrates from me in such a real, authentic way. Shortly thereafter, we got in a car. We met actually with a couple tech members of our team who we've just had long-standing relationships with. We went to a really fantastic dinner. Then we went to Napa. We went to Napa because this was an opportunity for JD and I to spend 3 days together to talk about the future of the business. What are the things that are gonna be aligned to diminish stories? There are certain stories that serve us, and there are certain stories that don't. And I have a tendency to look at stories and say, which one do I want? Which one do I want to own? Do I want to own that we're not moving fast enough? Do I want to own a story that it feels like inordinate risks? Do I want to own what it looks like for expansion, and will that require me to work more when what I want to do is work strategically, not more hours? More hours doesn't yield better results. More strategy and cognizant thinking does. And so the stories that we chose in Napa, we also went and wine tasted at Contessa. We stayed at a phenomenal resort. We spent time by the pool. And at the end of it, I decided to say, these are the stories that I choose. And these are stories that are going to serve me and set us up for success. So one of the things that I had to tell myself in San Francisco at that lunch was a mantra that I ended up saying the entire weekend. Listen, like I started off this story by saying like the family I come from, I'm the proud daughter of an immigrant, but being in rooms like that in San Francisco made me feel an outsider. But here again, that's a story. So when I was in that room, I repeated to myself, you're in the right room. Find ways to use your skills to help people and add value. I just kept on reminding myself, like, you're in the right room. Use your skills to help, add value. And crazy enough, I used that same mantra as we went to the Four Seasons in Napa. We absolutely, absolutely could and should be at that hotel. So why is it that I have like this background narrative that like, should you be at this hotel? Like nobody else here is brown. Like, look at all these other cars. Or it was this weird thing. And I kept on telling myself, you're in the right room. If you meet people, add value and step into who you've been called to be by choosing better stories. So the goal was to unplug. The goal was to get closer to our goals. And that was a really great start to June. So June was a lot more condensed. I was really spending a lot of time on Consistent 10K and didn't add any other things to my calendar. And June 11th, I flew to Nashville. I spoke at Amy Porterfield's Mastermind. She hosts a mastermind for 7-figure founders. So I spoke there. I had a new presentation. I created a vlog around it. So if you are on YouTube, be sure to check out that vlog because we give you a behind the scenes of what that looked like. And I'm gonna link to that vlog in the show notes. 3 weeks in June, I did mastermind onboarding calls. So what we don't talk about is, okay, we don't advertise it, we don't talk about it, we don't even make it public. The way that this has been passed around has been purely word of mouth. I've never even mentioned it on the podcast, but I think it bears a really important point here. The team and I are often commissioned to consult on branding and marketing strategies for large-scale organizations. What we've created before we send a bid, before we accept the client, we will do what we call the edge assessment. We need to understand the state of the business so that we could speak clearly to the branding and marketing of it. And we charge $25,000 for this assessment, and it's just the assessment. We won't even agree to take on the client, but we need to know what we're dealing with and the structure of the business. It has been so powerful for us to use this edge assessment so that we understand if I was going to buy this business, we have that much information. It is a very, very detailed assessment. And I look at it as if I'm going to buy this business, because if I am brought on to consult for branding strategy and marketing strategies, I treat it like it's a business I'm going to own. So we've done that. We've never talked about it. For cohort number 2 of the mastermind, I went to the team and I said, what if we required these 7-figure founders to complete the edge assessment? It's going to take them probably 3 or 4 hours to do. Do I want to do this? And I said, absolutely. I want to know about their business as if I'm going to buy their business. So they completed these edge assessments. I went through, myself and the team went through, and we said, okay, where's the greatest lever that they can pull? What are the untapped resources? Is the team bloated? Do they need to hire? What is their run rate? What is the profitability that they're aiming for? Where do we think that it's going to be? Like, we literally went through every single woman's business so that when we had onboarding for the mastermind, I met one-on-one with each of them. We went through their edge assessment. We talked about their growth levers. We talked about their strategies. We talked about what it is that they wanted to do. That took so much time, and I'm so proud of it. So most of June was consistent 10K and for onboarding of the mastermind. June 18th, I spoke in Huntington Beach at the Millionaire Summit with ROI and with Rachel Rogers. It was phenomenal. One of the craziest things about this event is I had never been in such a diverse room. Rachel Rogers is a Black woman of ultimate success, a lot of kindness, speaks to so many amazing people and attracts amazing people. I was in this room and it was the most diverse business conference I had ever been to, and it was so inspiring. It was very much an honor to speak. I also met with a woman by the name of Tori Dunlap. She is, you can find her like Instagram and websites as her first 100K. And I was there. I arrived early. We arranged to go for a walk on the beach. I also created a vlog about a behind the scenes of speaking at events. You can check that out on YouTube as well. Like I'm saying, I'm just documenting the journey, the tiny little pieces of these things. Now, I asked Tori to meet before the event because I wanted to create a real in-person relationship with somebody I only knew online. We spent 30 minutes. We talked about her business, my business. We shared some tips, strategies, and talked about the idea of possibly collaborating in the future. But that only happens when you get to look at somebody in the face, figure out the kind of person and entrepreneur that they are, and share what it is that you know to see how the relationship grows after that. June 26th was our very first mastermind call, and it was phenomenal to have these women come in, connect, and figure out how they could support each other as they scale to 8 figures. So I make this show for you. I do the Laying Bricks quarterly review episodes for you. The goal is that you see the work behind the scenes so you resist the temptation to ever see anything online that makes it look easy, flawless, or perfect. I hope that this gives you an inside look at the work that we do that feels like it's gonna take a very long time to achieve in the future. And that is the state of business. I want to dismantle any sort of notion that some of us are gifted or special or have it easy, that this is the work, and I am inviting you into the work as an encouragement to say, please don't quit. This is the time we build. The idea would not be inside of you if you did not have the capacity to achieve it. I will look across this screen as we record this at the end of quarter 2, and I will tell you that all the fear and all of the doubt and all of the uncertainty exist never before more than now. And yet we continue to persevere. Why? Because the idea of building out this holding company permeates every cell of my being. And if I believe I was called to do this thing, then I am beholden to try my dang best. These episodes are simply documenting trying my dang best. I hope you do the same. Thank you for watching and listening to The Jasmine Story.